Aloha, e komo mai. Welcome or welcome back to Rainbow Budgets. I am so glad you're here with me today. We are finally catching up on our budgeting from September and October. And then in our next video, we will get started on the budget for November. Even though we are already more than halfway through the month of November, I am so sorry about that, friends. I do not like being this far behind, but when you're sick, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's just how the world works, right? But we are finally caught up. It was a bit of a labor of love for me this weekend to get everything all caught up and get us back on track, but we're back on track. So let's start by catching up with our September budget. So we'd done the budget with me, our first check-in, but I hadn't even finished out the September, our second paycheck. So my husband and I are both paid 2 times a month on the 6th and the 21st of the month. So we have 2 paycheck cycles within the month. The first one is the 6th of that month through the 20th, and then the second one is the 21st of that month through the 5th of the following month. I actually really like this setup because our mortgage comes out on the 1st of the month, and so it's kind of towards the end of our budgeting cycle, which is really nice. I'm not showing our fixed expenses here, just our variable, and then our short-term and long-term savings here. Let's take a look at how we did in September. I'll try to zoom you in here. We'll see how that turns out. But overall, we did pretty good with our variable expenses. We did go over on household, and you'll see I'm seeing that this is kind of becoming a trend, so it's something to keep our eye on. I don't want to increase it, but I might have to, or we might have to start supplementing from the home category that's in our short-term savings. Let's see, we did really well on our food related items, family fun as well. We didn't eat out as much and we did cook at home more, so that was really great. Our grocery budget starts out much higher than our eat out budget, as you can see over here from our first, or maybe I have to move this over, let's see. As you can see here from our first pay cycle. So 1,000 versus 750. Now back to our end of September. So overall, we had $827 from September's variable budget that we did not spend. So that rolls over into October's budget. For our short-term sinking funds, again, here we did really well. There weren't any categories I was concerned about. And we have $3,528 that's going to be rolling over. These always roll over every month. Our variable expenses do not. They expire. So I say we're going to roll over this 827, but we're going to put it back into our budget that we're then going to reallocate for our long-term savings. This 3,528, I do put it into a lump, just one category called short-term savings in my high yield savings account, so we can be earning interest on it. But it stays specific to its category, whereas this just gets relumped into our income ish. This stays specific to the category. So you'll see we track that at the beginning of October's month as well. For our long-term savings, we did pretty good here. We had some savings that went through a few of our accounts. Most of the savings here happens at the beginning of the month, which is why you don't see in the second paycheck any income here, but we didn't have any expenses. And then we did get to make an extra debt payment, which I love that. And we'll come back to tracking that after we talk about October's budget, which is now already done as well. So let's flip over to October here and take a look. I've got our monthly setup here. This just tracks our 2 pay cycles and some of our fixed expenses. These are more like bills that automatically come out, and we really have no say over how much they are, as opposed to groceries, right? Which, I mean, yeah, we have only some say as to what they are, right? But you can make choices every month, right? Do I buy the brand name chicken nuggets or the store name chicken nuggets, right? Versus on our life insurance bill, it just is what it is. There's no negotiating that. So we did do pretty good at the beginning of October with our interest income. We have a performance savings account with Capital One. I love that because it's connected directly and we can instantly transfer between that one and our checking accounts. With our Wealthfront high yield savings account, again, I'm really loving that one. It does take, there's some instantaneous transfers, but it does take usually 2 to 3 days to move money in and out of this high yield savings account between there and a checking account. So it is more for long-term storage, not storage, long-term savings. Okay, and then we have our DCFSA that came in twice, and this $416 goes directly budgeted to our education savings. And then here you see the $827 for our September variable. And then actually for our September fixed expenses, just with the way income and some of our bills came out, we actually had $362 more than I budgeted. So I added that in here as well. And then we kept everything the same for our daily amounts for our variable budget and our short-term sinking funds. And then for our long-term sinking funds, we have very specific amounts. These are our non-negotiables up here for the annual subs, auto, home, MROs, and our emergency savings. The emergency savings is something actually when we finish off this extra debt, hopefully within the next 2 months, we will really need to bump up. This is just really a minimum here. And you'll see I have some check marks and some stars here. So October, this is the month where I got really sick and stopped being able to do my videos. I really even missed a lot of school and work, and it wasn't great. I have check marks here for the ones, obviously we had budgeted this amount, cash pulled out, all that good stuff. The check marks indicate savings that were able to happen, the savings challenges, and the stars are what I need to keep in mind. I've got that money set aside, but I haven't used it yet in those savings categories. And so we'll be doing savings challenges with those to kind of catch up this month in November. So we'll have November's budgeted amounts plus October's budgeted amounts for some of these. So it's going to be a little funky, but it is what it is, right? All right, now let's take a look at our 2 paycheck cycles for October. We went over in household again, like very quickly, and then we kept going over, but it was still only -47, so could be worse, right? You'll see we were doing pretty good towards the beginning of the month as far as our spending for groceries and eating out. We also had a fall break trip here, but once I got sick and stopped being able, amongst all the budgeting and work stuff, to also meal plan and prep. My husband was amazing and carried a lot of weight there. Otherwise, this would have been much worse. He's the best cook actually in our family. But our eat out, we just barely scraped by without going into the negative on our eat out budget. And you'll see we had so much left over in groceries. So these just kind of like are an indicator of each the other, right? And luckily we still were under our spending about $719. So that's good. $719 is going to roll over now into our just general budgeting for savings and all that good stuff for November. For our short-term sinking funds here, we did really good on everything again. Enrichment's getting a little low. That does make me a little bit nervous because we are going to have to pay for some extracurriculars for my son coming up pretty soon. Most of his fall extracurriculars are ending. We did spend here on, I'm pretty sure that, this amount from the beginning of October was for his winter swim lessons. So it's just going to keep happening. More things are going to start coming up. I think most of his school extracurriculars though will not happen again until spring. Possibly soccer shots will need to happen soon. So that's one thing for us to keep in mind. That is a little bit low, but if we go over there, I can always take from his short-term sinkings fund, which increased this month because I was able to sort through and sell some more of his clothes and like an online forum for reselling kids' clothes. They grow out of them so fast. So I'm actually really grateful to have this platform. Obviously, I'm not making money off of this. I still paid more to buy them than I'm selling them for, but getting anything back is better than nothing. It's really added up for him in this $1,900 total. Like, he has more money than all of us, especially me and my husband. It was also a pretty spendy month for us in our individual accounts. We'd been kind of saving up in them, and then you know how it goes. So we got to keep an eye on that. This is not sustainable, but we had the money, and every now and then it's okay, right? When we look at our savings, long-term savings down here, nothing out, thank goodness, that made it easier, but also nothing in. We did back in our first pay cycle pay our insurance, which was a little over $1,600, but we had it saved up. Awesome. I was able to take care of that from that long-term savings account. So that was really good. We also made payments towards our car loan, which we'll look at in just a little bit. Okay, I think that pretty much covers it here, but overall October ended well, even though we did have one category in the negative and one that's making me concerned how low it is. We still overall ended really well with more money, more came in than went out. So that is always a good thing, right? Budgeting friends, always a good thing. All right, so next let's flip on back to our education savings tracker. Here it is. And we did do our savings in September, but like I mentioned, we did not do them in October. So November's savings is going to look like a lot more. We should be here at least by now. So we might have to really pump up the savings in November and December. We'll see. But for now, we are able to color in through box 61 on this Monopoly savings tracker. Moneyopoly, I guess is what it's called, but super fun. I love these. These are all from debtfreecharts.com and they were free. So that's even better, right? Okay, so that gets us for September in education, and we had no savings, even though we budgeted. We just haven't finished any challenges in October because I was sick. So now let's move over to our car loan, which this one I did keep going just because timely payments are even more important here with interest. So in September, we ended with a final balance of $4,484.83, which means I can color in through this box right here. Yay, love that great monthly progress. And in October, our final balance was $2,284.83. So, which means I can color into this box right here. All right, yay. And sorry this has turned into such a brown color. I was expecting it to be something kind of pastel-y, but no, I think it's actually brown. So anyway, we are almost 80% of the way there on paying off our car loan. This isn't just extra payments, this is our monthly payment as well. So we are getting so close. I am hopeful that in 2 months we can do the rest of this progress. We've been hitting about 20 boxes each time, so we're going to be really close, but we're going to put every effort into it and hopefully it will happen. Yay. All right, I think that is all for me for today. Mahalo nui for joining me. I hope your week is off to a wonderful, wonderful start. Our next budgeting video will be setting up our November budget. So I will see you, I'm not sure, either for that or our Pauhana savings on Friday. Not sure which will come first, but one or the other. So hope you have a great week and I will see you later. Aloha.